Hello, everyone. So the next item of topic was integrations, such as Zoom and YouTube. So I know that we've already talked about Zoom and YouTube a little bit, but any specific questions about integrating, what integrations we have, anything like that?
Can you walk them through how to integrate Zoom and
it's not an easy one to walk through, to be perfectly honest. I do recommend calling into support because Zoom requires you generate certain keys from each end. So it's not something I can just show you here. You'd have to be in your Zoom account to do both steps. There are certain keys, but honestly, from our end, you go to a page and you fill in the information. But
our support staff all can do it. And anytime you want us to call them and say, I want you to help me do the Zoom, they'll just do a screen share and just do it right then and there for you.
So they need to be the account holder for the Zoom account, not just a licensed user. Can't be a free account, and they also have to get some of the settings in their Zoom account have to be set to allow them to do the integration piece.
If you have a Zoom account, just call into support and say, I want to set up the integration. They'll walk through the steps, but there's steps that we need to do both in the LMS and in Zoom because Zoom gives us a key to give us access.
Yeah, it's pretty easy. So you want to give them the support number they can call?
Trying to get you the 1-800 number. So if you call our support at 1-800-975-5492, it's also right at the bottom of every page on our website as well, just in case you can't find the number. Yeah.
And the same goes for
whoever can get access to their Zoom account. So if you're in whoever is the administrative owner of your Zoom account, whoever that is, doesn't have to be IT. It's just a matter of there are certain, because in order for our LMS to integrate with it, it needs to get a security key, right? That's all. Yeah. And there are two flavors of Zoom integration now. So there's the one that you were probably using before, but you can also have parent accounts with child accounts. So it might be worth looking at that to see if there's any financial savings, but it means that there's one account and then you can assign certain child accounts that you can use. So we can manage that as well. And then it's one integration at the root level and everyone can have their child accounts at wherever they need to have them.
So if they're going to integrate Zoom for multiple branches, so they have a provider account, they also have, a provider branch, and I'm using that in the same way we used to call them domains, and they have a staff domain, they should apply the key and the integration at the root, and then everybody, all of the domains below or the branches below will have access to that Zoom account to integrate. Correct?
Correct.
And is this a one and this is a one and done, not a per video upload?
Yeah, no, it's a one and done. And then anytime you go, it adds it as a possible location. And then anytime you go to add a session, it just adds an option to your location. And then it will go and create the Zoom session for you. We also have the option now to create a session using a custom URL. So if you have a personal or your own Zoom account that you use with a standard room URL, you can create a session and just plug in that URL. And then it won't create the session for you. It's something that you've already created. So we have a client who's doing that because they found that Zoom was charging them for the number of meetings scheduled or the number of events scheduled. So they would only at one time. So they would only spin up the events that were happening in that week, though they could pre-schedule them all at all of these dates and times, but then only that week would they trigger it to go create all of the sessions for the week. They saved a ton of money.
Isabel, can you show them that? Can you just go in and show them where they would plug that URL in? We have a lot of new people. They don't know what you're talking about, so. And you would not put in all of the information. Some admins were like copying the whole meeting notice. You just put in the URL with the meeting ID, the link only.
And we don't have it integrated LMS, just possibly.
What was the question? Or statement?
Right. Yeah, Google Meet URL. It could be any event URL you have. So you'd share that URL here.
So it could be Teams or
Yeah,
WebEx or whatever.
But again, when you go with this route, it will not go and automatically create that session for you because the integration's not there.
You create the session and that's where you get the link to put in there. You go to Zoom or Teams and create the session. The beauty of the integration is when you create the session, it automatically creates that as a Zoom meeting in Zoom. So you don't have to do it. And then you go to Zoom to start your meeting and everybody else gets to join through the ArcaLearn LMS. So
Thank you.
time saver.
Yep. So yeah, if you're working on getting Zoom integrated and while you're going through that process, you still want to make sure that everything that's going to be in there is in here. You can still do this, yeah.
Same true for PayPal.
Yeah.
For those that are collecting fees for provider trainings and want to turn that feature on, you have to have the account person in PayPal enable that. And my experience was it had to be an addendum to your contract that allowed them to give this information to Thinking Cap. Since there's, you know, it's a financial transaction, they're pretty strict on that.
Yeah.
We have several centers using that. Inland is now has it integrated. San Gabe, we do. I think there's one other center that's using it for their provider, collecting provider fees.
So we have a bunch of integrations built into the system, but we can always add more. So when you go into the integration section, we have the user sync, which is the, you're trying to get users into the system. It manages the different options for that aspect of it. There's also completions import. So if someone's sending us completions from another system, we have integrations for that. We have data export, so that's sending information out of our system so that they can bring them into other systems. We have clients who build dashboards that have their internal system information and have the training information. So you imagine a call center, all the call center tracking information compared with the training they've taken. Does that training improve the results of the customer service calls they're taking, the quality of those sorts of things? And we have the cloud services. this is anything from Google Analytics, Web Trends, Salesforce. Actually, Fortuma just changed their name. That was sort of rewards recognition program. Zendesk for customer support, so builds that integration into the page. And text messaging. If you wanted to send text instead of email. Other than that, oh yeah, content libraries. So if you wanted to sign up for a subscription service with different content libraries, so options we have, we've added a few last year. We actually have a couple more to add. So we have LinkedIn and Exact LCMS. So that's if you're bringing in content from an external library source, like an authoring tool.
That's a
authoring tool.
very robust authoring tool.
It's a really good one. Yeah. And LinkedIn Learning.
So if you're using LinkedIn, it used to be called Lynda Learning, but now it's LinkedIn Learning. So if you subscribe, you can bring those items directly into the LMS from LinkedIn Learning.
Can you go, I think you might have skipped over the web services API. I always wanted to know what that was.
Oh, the web services is if you have a developer here who wants to integrate it into your website or integrate it into another system, and they want to be able to make calls directly to the LMS, we expose the methods of the LMS through that system.
Every function of the LMS is exposed as a web service. So we have another English language trainer, Lingoda.
Yeah.
They create all their ILTs, all their sessions, all their users, everything comes from their backend system directly into our LMS without any user doing anything. They just call the service to add this, add that. So it's as if they've got an administrator, but it's all 100% automated. So you can do that for anything in the system.
Got it. Okay.
Okay. Were there any other questions about integration? Any other systems that you were looking to integrate? No? Certifications is the next topic. Who wants to talk about, who has questions about certifications? Who's looking to set up a new certification or who's running certifications? Offering CEUs?
Similar to brand. Talk about creating certification.
Oh, certificates. Yeah.
Well,
Okay. So certificates in our system are set up as HTML files. They're just an
Convert to
HTML
PDF. We create
and
PDFs.
we convert it on the fly. So that means that you create the template and you use, just like you do with notifications, things like that, you create the smart tag of where you want the name to go, or where you want the course title to go, or where you want the due date or the completion date to go, all of that.
We have a customer who does a 2-page PDF. The first page is a nice certificate on your wall. And the second page is a wallet card. You cut out to show, because they're using it to get on site for construction. So we have those. We also have the credit statements. So we can put credit information onto a certificate. So if you want to get a certificate that says you finished this course and therefore you get these CEUs, these CEUs, these CEUs, these, and that was great. So we had a customer who said, no, we've got different CEU providers. They all have their own rules for what's included in your submissions. And then we came up with these receipts. So it's basically a receipt that's per credit you've earned. So you can do those, and then you got badges as well.
And then badges,
Yeah.
yeah. So you can also award a badge, which could be shareable. So if you have a badge for completing a learning path, for example, so you completed your 2023 XYZ certification, then they can share that to LinkedIn, Facebook, wherever they want to send that out to. LinkedIn is a good example. They understand what's in that badge because it follows a standard. And so that they take that information and then they know who the issuer was, what the requirement, like what the criteria was that they met, where to send people back to if they have questions about it. And it's all there. It's a great way to also kind of promote the learning you're doing as well. Also,
what's the rest of this one? CMN dash,
Evolution.
but it's CMN dash.
EMC? No. RMC. You got 2 dashes by mistake. If we were better Canadians, we would have been able to do that translation on the fly to French, but
What did you wrong is?
you trying to go to the
CMN dot.
RMC? Are you going to their
CMN,
LMS?
please.
Evolution dot
Thank you. Never mind.
CMN,
CMN.
RMC. That's it.
Talking like.
So certificates can be automatically issued upon completion. You can also limit who gets it. So if you fail the course, you wouldn't get it. So you can do things like that as well. Some people doing gamification might give you the certificate and then might also give you a coupon for something on the second page as well, depending on where the hint to the next activity you need to do. So there are different ways to use certificates, but they're really just HTML, really simple HTML files. And you can prepare whatever template design you want for it.
Admonishment understood.
Over a glass of wine then. Okay, that's 2.
There you go. I was pushing for the wine.
Okay, thank you. Sorry.
So the next topic on the list was branding. So we've had some conversations about simplifying perhaps the branding so there's consistency a little bit more and make it easier for you guys from regional center to regional center. Maybe something that you could inherit and then maybe make a couple customizations to, like overriding the colors and the logo and such. But that was a long time ago and it's on your agenda. So I'm curious to see what you guys had questions for us about regarding branding, and we'll take it from there.
I think that was the goal, just to have some sort of templates, because I know there was some customization with, I think, the CCS or CCS, and obviously none of us know how to do that special coding. So if we could just get templates either on CCS or
You mean CSS?
yeah, whatever that term is,
Asking
Just-
sound sheet?
just so we could get, like you said, simplify our branding if you want to customize it for each regional center.
So I haven't published this anywhere other than in your LMS. There is a sandbox one that I created. I'm gonna put it to you this way. I could take this and apply it on all of them and just type to the colors and logo so that everyone's on the same thing. It's all inheriting. It's one central place, whatever. I actually am recommending that we hold off on doing anything until after we've updated the learner experience options with the latest version of the libraries. Because otherwise I would then be saying we should
Do it all over again, yeah.
and I'd rather only do it once. I'd rather only impact your learners once. I would also think that when we do the next one, ideally there shouldn't be any need for any custom JavaScript or CSS at all. Okay?
You can
So
apply
that's
that
my-
root today because it's hideous. The current root is hideous.
Yeah, if you're fine with that.
No one
I
uses
can
root but
do
me,
that.
but
Yeah, I know, me
Yeah.
too. I mean, but yes, so so if you want to take a look, this is in the Sandbox 2022 branch. So I'm sure Maureen can get you in if you want to take a peek.
you sure?
It has things like the logo in here. It has the link for how to embed videos. and instructions on that. So if you want to get in and open up the brand, like export the branding and play around with it, bring it into your sandbox, take a look, whatever you want to glean from it. It includes, if you go into the login page setting, it shows how to put an embedded video that automatically changes the responsive size so that it stays the appropriate aspect ratio, depending on your device. Log in at this one.
It's a really nice monitor.
Seeing it sideways is messing it. Oh, I can't see that.
Scroll. I've zoomed in, by the way, if you want to zoom out.
Oh.
Over.
I do think that we should, when everyone's had a chance to sort of review this and when the new branding and stuff is out there, we should have a session. It's not zoomed.
It's mine. Great.
So it has the cookie banner. You guys don't need that. That's more for Europe, but if you want it, there. It has a centralized menu. It's not, all of the colors here are coming from the branding. This is a reimagined slideshow, so it's easier to find images for instead of having to go with the super wide ones, which can be difficult to find. Incorporating some of the different tiles that we have for the homepage, so you can take a look at how that's been set up. So we have the About Me tile, where you can actually pull in more information than I'm showing here, but it can bring in your profile image, the number of completions you have, the number of certificates you've been given, the number of badges, sorry, Maureen, the number of your rep score if you're using forums. The next one over is the news feed, which is a great one to use if you want to send announcements and put announcements like, quick messages onto your landing page for your branch. The upcoming are a list of scheduled IoT sessions that are coming up, whether you've registered for them or not, or options, what to include. The two on the left there are custom features. And then on the right, we have recent activity, which includes things you've recently been enrolled in or things that you recently opened to take.
Which is great to put in the home because it just brings it to their attention. You jump from the first page back into what they're working on last.
There's also my favorite tile, which I haven't put in here for some reason, which I usually do, is the finish up tile. So if someone's in the middle of something, when they come back in, it reminds them what they were last in, so they can just click on it and go straight back in.
Can you demonstrate how to add a tile?
I don't remember which branch. It's okay if I move around?
Good.
And I want you to show me how to add a picture. We keep adding pictures and they don't show up.
Can you also add the finish up tile? I'm curious about how that looks.
So when you go into the experience area, the two main areas you're going to go into is branding. Once you set that up, you should never have to really go back in it ever. Then the pages section, which you're probably going to be in more, but again, it's just, hopefully it's the sort of thing you set up once and then you don't really have to go back in. So on the homepage tiles, which are currently here, and I'll let you know.
Later this year, homepage tiles will be available to put on any page. But...
yeah. There is no nice way to say this, but when you're supporting a responsive device, so it could be a phone, a tablet, laptop. You have to associate min max sizes of what the dimensions are for those screens, and how you present the content on your homepage, for example, might change depending on that. So whenever you see desktop, tablet, all of this, If you think in columns, every page has 12 columns. How many of those columns do you want each of these tiles to take up? So if you remember back on that home page, I had some that took up a third of the page, some that took up half the page, some that were the full page. I'm defining that here by the number of columns. Slideshow tile takes the full width, so it goes the full 12 columns.
Question?
Yep.
Is there like, shouldn't you be limiting the number of columns you can select for like a device like a phone? You know, you'll never have 12 columns on a phone.
You shouldn't, you're right, but we aren't right now.
Sure.
Thanks, honey, for pointing that out. The next is news feed, for example, 4. You see that one a lot. 4 columns is a third of the width of the page. Custom features, we did that half, so 6 of 12. Your math skills are probably pretty good at that. When you scroll down below that original structure of the order of the things and how much of the space you want to take up based on the different devices. And yes, Doug is right. When you get to phone, just make everything the full width, honestly, because there's not enough space for more than one. I think it defaults to 12 anyway. The newsfeed options, and each tile has a different option. So as soon as you select it, then there's a box for it below. So we have newsfeed, the custom features and such. If you were to add finish up tile, I went past it, didn't I? Yeah. Finish up tile. So when you're doing that, you can select whether it's going to open a new window and what my title is going to be. And that title is you left off on this activity,
So
go finish it.
These or that? Finish up one activity or is it a bunch?
It's always one. It's always
Okay,
the last
great.
activity you're in. If the last activity you were in was through a learning path, it'll give a button for the activity, and then it'll also give a button for or view it in the context of the learning path.
Don't you have to save the slides there?
Only if you're making changes to the slides.
Okay, and that you didn't. Okay.
I did not. And I didn't do anything. I haven't done anything recently, so there's nothing there.
Go enter something. Go to my courses and open. Yeah.
But you have to have something to finish up, right?
Course. So I don't know if that you can say you want that thing.
I don't know if it does that either.
Probably doesn't. So log in, go back to learn view.
I'm just gonna log out and back again. Put it last, didn't I?
Save the page for that.
Can I just ask a point of clarification while this is setting up? So this is something admins do so that every learner's homepage has the same appearance. Learners can't customize their own view. Okay.
Okay, let's see. take a look at that.
What else else while I look at it?
Check.
Who got anything else while I look at that?
So all tiles are managed that way, but it's not the only content that you can add. I'm gonna go back into the sitemap. So in the sitemap, you can create any number of pages. Has everybody been into the sitemap and tried adding pages, changing page settings? Any questions about that aspect of it at all? It's the media. So any page that you create, like I have with the My Courses page, you can add content to. And that can include things like media files, which you can pull from the media library, which I apparently don't have any really good ones in here. I haven't added anything to this branch yet. But you can also add content. And you can do things like bold, italics, all of that wonderful stuff. If you are an advanced user and you have some HTML skills, you can click on the 3 dots, click on the code view, and then you can make changes however you want. Because we support Bootstrap and the Bootstrap library is available, you can do things like add accordions and tabs and all kinds of amazing stuff. If you go to getbootstrap.com, we're using version 4. So if you go through there, they'll give you samples of HTML that you can use to do all sorts of things. I'm not sure which ones I might have set some up under content samples. So if you want, you can copy the content samples page as well. So right off the bat, this is an example of an accordion, and anything that I've done in here could be copied. And I tried to put the code in, give you samples. That's what a table could look like. Same with media. And if you were wondering how to embed 16:9 aspect ratio video, or how to embed a 4:3 aspect ratio video, and also just different cards. I specifically put cards because I knew we're moving to the new one, and panels is Bootstrap 4. Cards are embedded into this, but will be embedded into the new version. Okay, so instead of the panel boxes that people use for features sometimes, it's going to be cards going forward. Okay, so if you go to content samples, it has all of that, and you can copy and paste stuff from there and then use that if you are comfortable with HTML. The learning activities tab, as Doug mentioned, you can pick anything you might want to put into your content. If you're using custom types, that gives you a further way to filter what you might want to put on the page. So if you're talking about creating a certification or even a compliance activity type, you could set up a page that is your compliance training or all compliance training and just show the compliance type activities on it. There's a whole slew of options about filtering the different types, the statuses, what you're enrolled into, what the source of that content might be, to not include ILTs that are full. So if you're saying available upcoming ILTs, you might not want to show something that's full because they can't get into it. You might want to include ones that potentially people are waitlisted for in the list. But you also get to control a lot of the user experience. So when you're into the second half of the page, you're looking at what filters can appear, the sorting options, whether you're going to allow the learner to sort, and also just how the information lays out overall. And the overall layout we have now, there are 3. There's the boxes, which can be this way, or we may be adding a bit more responsive boxes to reduce the scrolling, a collapsible table, and the calendar view. So if you have a page that's just ILTs, then you can use the calendar view to show it in a sort of schedule-like approach. Okay.
You can't see what.
Same page, you can swap it at any time. Admin only. So the admin has the control over how they want it presented. Typically, the approach I see is when it's a catalog, they show them in the boxes because it's a bit more of a, it has the chance for the marquee to show, it's a bit more of a sales, encourage you to enroll sort of approach. My training is typically shown in a collapsible table. It's the stuff you've already signed up for. You're already committed to it. You got to do it, right? And then usually the calendar view is used when it's someone who's really focused on ILTs and they need to show what that upcoming schedule of sessions will be. Okay. And on the calendar view, actually, you have the option as a learner to switch from the monthly view, the weekly view, the daily view, or an agenda view. And that is something the learner can change. Okay.
Sorry, did you say bootstrap.com to get code?
Getbootstrap.com. But in the content samples one, I've pulled out the most common ones that you guys have asked me about, and some that I thought you might also find useful. So if you want, you can just copy that whole page or copy just the parts that I've included the sample code for.
Okay. I tried bootstrap.com and I just got a page that says they'll be coming soon, but
Yeah, no, getbootstrap.com.
Okay.
Yeah, GET in the front. Okay.
This is more maybe a me technical issue, but something when I'm in the learner view and I browse the catalog, for some reason, I don't see the courses that I've completed.
Then you may have it set to not include activities or completed in that page. Because that is an option.
Through that page, it's an important page to walk through.
Okay.
Go through that.
Isabel, maybe go to, is it Ryan that's asking, or I couldn't tell?
It was Herman.
Herman, maybe you can go to Alta's page instead of the sandbox.
What?
Agencies.
Really? Tell me more how this.
Which one?
The all staff.
All staff learning. The other thing I noticed, I can't find myself searching by my first name, but if you put my last name, K-O-T-H-E, I'll
Sorry?
populate.
Do it again?
K-O-T-H. That should do it.
Interesting. So just for kicks, once I get there, I'm gonna impersonate. Just for fun. So. So which page are you looking at? The browse catalog page?
Yes.
So browse catalog page, you go to learning activities. And so you turn it on for the page. You're including items learners enrolled into, right? You're including the things the learner can enroll into. You've got all these activity types selected, and you've got no statuses selected at all. So that could be unless I think you have to remove them. Okay,
Yeah,
so what is it you can't see?
You do have to select the completed and active.
So you need to pick which ones you want to show. So what are you seeing right now? We go to browse catalog. That's the main. Okay, so that's a placeholder. Okay, so browse catalog, and it comes back with 106 items. And that's, so you wanted to show you want to see the things on it that you are enrolled into.
That I've completed. So for instance, I've
Just completed on this page, or
including completed. So
yeah,
I do a search for browse catalog. I've completed SDP orientation, but I browse the catalog looking to go back and review some information. So that's what I need to
Click
do.
these statuses, so it'll show the statuses. And let's start with that.
And you could also look in your transcript to see what's active and completed.
Let's,
Well, I wasn't so much interested in confirming my completion. I was wanting to actually go back and review the content again, even though I'd completed
I
it.
see.
I had 106 items.
Click on active though, there.
Now we're at
28.
155. So now you can see you got 28 that are active, 4 completed, and 113 not enrolled. So if I then were to change the filters here, and these are just, this is now identical to your transcript. So it's not the same as a transcript because in general, transcripts range across all domains you're a member of. Where here, unless you say, unless you tell us to, it's not everything that you're enrolled into
Right.
that's showing it.
Right. And
But
Very similar though.
you can't resume from a transcript. You can here.
Yeah, but coming back to the page like this to see completed items is a good way to review content you've completed. So if you want to come back and relook at training to remember what the answer was to that one question. Yeah.
Let me take you through this page.
Isabel, I sent a file to your chat, in the chat to you, a pic that I want to upload to a branch, and I'm not able to for some reason. Can you demonstrate what I'm doing wrong, or demonstrate?
I'm
how
going to
to-
finish the page I'm on, Maureen, because I just showed the
Oh.
one thing. I wanted to. This is a very important page. I want to give everyone
Sorry.
a tutorial.
Sorry, I thought you were dead. Sorry.
I just did a side trip for what you wanted me to show, so I'm just coming back to this now. Okay. Okay. So include the cataloging page. So we are showing items learners enrolled into, include activities available for learners enrolled to. So 2 items, include enrolled items set to only display in the context of learning path. Why do you even have this is because if someone's set to, so sometimes you have items that people can enroll into, but you don't, and you set them to self-enroll, let's say, but you don't want them to ever self-enroll into them. You only ever want them to self-enroll into them if they're in the learning path. In which case you can set a display item on that learning path saying only, or in the core, in the activity, only show in the context of learning path. This item seems to undo that prohibition. And I'm not sure who got that. That must have been behind my back, but I'll get rid of that.
You don't want me to answer that question.
I do. Is it Rico?
No. It was,
No anticipation. Just tell me. Who was it?
you agreed to that one and I said we shouldn't have it because it undoes the show in the context.
Oh, you're blaming me for this.
Yeah.
Okay.
There
Well, I
was
think it's
there
stupid.
was a weird,
Okay, and I'm not
weird
stupid.
scenario. I'm like, no, we can't have that as a setting.
Okay, include activities learners are on the enrollment wait list. This is from a complaint because we had someone was enrolled in the wait list and they wanted it. If you're on the wait list, they didn't want it to pop up again. So, but now this is not.
And their wait list item is set only to show in the context of
So
the learning.
truth is, let's forget these are those, that one and this fourth one aren't even there. I'm gonna actually minimize them. Is keep a little note down and change like a font or something to make these like show as their like sub choices.
Yep.
Okay, so once you've picked whether what you're going to show, then you have to pick which activity types you want to show because you may not want to show everything. You might create a page called My Learning Paths, in which case you're only going to show learning paths. Then you pick the statuses that you're going to show, and then let's talk about the origins. So these are for items available for enrollment. You can show things that are in the current branch, that are in the child branch, so branches below, parent branches, and peer branches. Now, I think this is probably going to disappear very soon because the people who already put that in don't use it anymore. And I think it's kind of stupid to do it there. But then, and is enrolled can show the current branch, child branches, and parent branches.
I think peer branches there is supposed to mean anyone.
No, it's just peers. It's local peers.
it?
It can't be everyone.
Oh.
Okay. Then, for enrollment, do you want to turn on fast start, enroll without start, enroll only from details page? These are controlling how you can enroll from this page. Fast start, for those who don't know it, is there because if you want someone to click on the button and launch the course, so the enrollment and the launch happens in one action, you turn on fast start. Because people then, I've enrolled, and I go to my page, so it's just a thing.
From a UX perspective, always turn that on whenever
Yeah.
possible.
Catalog options, hide ILTs that are full. So if you've set a maximum people for ILTs, you can have it so that it disappears from the list once there's no longer spots. You can show ILTs that have passed, because sometimes, and for this thing, you can send a duration, because sometimes if you've turned on, so when we first built the LMS for many years, we're like, you can't enroll in an ILT that's already in the past, but they're like, well, they were there, but they just didn't enroll beforehand. They want to get credit for it. So we say, fine, you can enroll in ILTs that happened in the last 10 days because you've allowed it to happen. And only include activities matching rules. So if you click on this, then you can build rule sets. If you want to create a separate catalog, let's say you create a catalog for COVID-19 information. That way, this catalog will have a rule that says any course that has the metadata field COVID-19 for type will show up here, which is great because it means that when you add a new course, it'll show up in the catalog without you having to go in and change the catalog, and it'll make sure that list is created and curated for you. So you can build rules, you can beat exclusion rules, so you can build a rule saying show all the COVID-19 courses, and then add an exclusion rule, except for the ones marked controversial. Then, here's you've decided what is going to show on the page. Then you get to pick how it shows. So learner browsing options, let them be able to select by activity type. So they can turn off these activities that they don't want to see them, and they can turn off statuses. And you can decide you want to show the credit value, let them search by credit value, be able to browse by credit categories, by credit issue, all this kind of stuff. And then these are other ones. So ARCA activity filter, catalogs, tags, user type. As you can see, those ones are supported. You can choose how many show on a page. You can group equivalencies to show as one thing that expands. Just like, so you had a course that was available, like it was a new employee orientation course, and it was a face-to-face, and it was an equivalency. If you grouped them together, it would show you the February, March, and April one. You can pick which one you want to, and they'd all be grouped together instead of being maybe separated in the page, which is especially helpful. They don't have the same title. Also, I don't know if everyone knows here, we, in ILTs and equivalencies, you can set up transfer. So you can say that if someone is in one ILT, they can transfer to another one if they'd like to. So let's say I've signed up for the employee orientation at the beginning of the month, and I can't make it. Before, what you would do is you would withdraw from that and then re-enroll in a new one. This way, you can simply click on transfer. It'll show you the other options. You pick transfer, and it'll take you out of the one and put you in the other. Load description from LMS when expanded. If you want to keep the descriptions tight, but you got some people have really long descriptions and the page will go on forever. This would let you expand it and contract it automatically if you wanted to. And when someone launches something from this page, do you want them to come back to the catalog page when they're done, or go to the details page for that activity? That's all in your choice here. You can choose whether you have a search box. You can include whether to include an activity progress measure, so they'll see actually right on the catalog how far they are into the course. And they'll allow sorting, change the sort order, display activity lists as boxes, as collapsible tables, as a calendar. So you can use this same page to build a calendar of events. And that's it. And you can always download the list of courses that would be included here by clicking the download box. Just shows you all the courses that would be there right now. Any questions about this? The goal here was, when we built this, was to replace hard-coded pages with a mechanism where you can build any kind of page you want. So any kind of page that describes all the courses you could load into. If you want to break them down to multiple little catalogs or one big Uber catalog. I prefer a single catalog with lots of filter options rather than have a whole bunch of stuff. Before I put this away, any questions about it? And there's no harm to play with it. Turn it on, turn stuff on, turn it off, go in here, log in, log out, see how it changes as you make changes until it's exactly the way you want it to be. We really should have an option to hide like the and the track.
Hide the browsing?
Yeah, you should be able to go like boop, and have all the filters just give you more real estate if you don't want them.
Oh, yes. But we were looking at doing that with the next bootstrap version instead of this one, because we were also looking at changing these boxes to be in columns.
Okay. Maureen, any questions?
Yes, can you show us again where the transfer option is? We're still back in the dark ages, withdrawing people and enrolling them. And it becomes a problem because people wait until the last minute. And since they can't enroll the day of the training because it's happening that day, and we could only manually enroll them, can they transfer the day of the training? Because that's when they're going to want to do it.
Yes. Right here. Under self-enrollment rules. Just click allow transfer.
Okay.
Now, the ILT has to be a member of the equivalency for this to work. Otherwise, there's be nothing to transfer into.
I
So-
got it. So it's
so
got
you
to be set up as an equivalent course.
It's one click to allow transfer.
And can they do it on the day of? Because if you look at the
You can do it-
general
You can do
enrollment.
until right up until the beginning of the first session of the ILT.
Right. Okay. So go to the general enrollment information. What do those settings need to look like for that to
You're
work?
asking that because you'd like to prohibit, you want to put a time limit on when they can transfer?
No, I want them to be able to transfer and not call me and email me and say, I can't come. It starts in 10 minutes and I got an emergency. I want them to be able to transfer. And I think the general enrollment information tab, if you click on that, will not let them enroll. Where is it?
This is in the past, yeah, last enrollment date, so 0 days prior to the, yes, you can change how many days before they can enroll into a course. You can say they can't enroll into the course, say 2 days before the course happens, but they can
Right.
transfer. But if you
But
turn,
they
if
can
you turn on
transfer?
transfer, if you turn on transfer, they can transfer anything, nothing to do with that. It'll buy,
Okay.
it might not bring up, if you've got the, let me just put a note to check this. Before I forget.
Yeah, the enroll 0 days won't allow them on the morning of the training. So let's say it starts at 10 o'clock.
Well,
And
that shouldn't be a matter because it's transferring, right? You're not enrolling. So it's the morning of, you're supposed to be there in an hour. You decide you can't make it. You go to the LMS, you find the thing, you click the button on transfer. It's going to show you all of the ILTs in that equivalency for which you could transfer to. Now, if there's an ILT tomorrow instead of today, but it's got a prohibition of you can't enroll until 2 days prior, then it won't show up because it's not a transferable item. But if there's something for next week that you could, then it'll show up and you can just hit the transfer button.
right.
And it'll undo the one enrollment and perform the other one.
We may have covered this before something comes to mind. Can you set up ILTs with a recurrence schedule to populate? Like if you know you're going to be doing something on the first work day of every month,
Yes.
you can set that.
When you go into the settings, this is a shared one, there's a password, there's a shared one. So I want to show some local. By the way, in case anyone doesn't know, if you right click on any of these options, it will deselect everything else. So here, instead of like unclicking everything here, I can just right click on instructor led, it'll deselect everything else. Okay, so here is so I go to sessions. So here are the sessions, and then I can click on reoccurring as an option to create reoccurring. So I add a session. Yeah. Okay, so I create the session and reoccurring. Okay, this create a number of sessions reoccurring. So if you want to say this happens every month for 6 months, then you only have to fill this in. So it starts at 10, it goes till 11, it's in this room, and then you create the reoccurring. then you don't have to go in and create 6 sessions. You can just do the one, it'll create all 6 for you.
Do you know what the logic for options for selection, like,
Yeah, I can,
but
I have like a quick.
if I said day, then it would make 6 on the next 6 considered
Yeah,
consecutive
but-
days. If you say week, it'll do it on the next Mondays. If you do monthly, it'll do it on this day of the month every next month.
But this, just to caution
Not
you,
sure exactly if it
This-
is. I gotta double check that. But
this
that's
is,
a quick-
this is not to be used when you're creating a bunch of the same thing, same type of training.
correct.
You want a different group of people to take it. So this is, you have a 3-day training or, you know, a 3-session training that's happening daily or weekly or monthly. It's the same group of people that are going to be registered in all 3 of those sessions. So it's not for like I'm doing new staff orientation. It's like whole group of new people in the other sessions, just to let you know, because that is a mistake that
This
is,
is a common error people make, and it's got no end of trouble that it can be caused by. You have every ILT is its own thing. If you have like new employee orientation, it happens every month. Every month is its own ILT that is 1 session long. If you have a new employee orientation that has 6 sessions you have to go to, that happens once a month for 6 months, that is still that's its own standalone. So if you've created one already, you've created a new employee orientation and it is a standalone course and it happens once. It happens once and only once, but you run it every month. Then instead of that, you would go into settings and you would clone the session. You would clone it.
well, what we recommend is to create a template and put all your sessions, like we do this, and it's 13 sessions, and they all have a description. Each session has a different description, a different title, different speakers, different times. And what we do is we go in and create each session, but we put the date and the time and the location to be determined. And then we save it as a template. And then we go into the template and we just clone the template, and we check that thing to clone the sessions that are to be determined. So then we get a clone that has all the sessions in it. All we have to do is confirm the speakers and the dates and put them in, and it reorders them. So even if they're not in the right order, let's say people can't do it on this day, they did it first last time and you're going to have it second this time. Once you put in the date and time for the new series, then it reorders it. And that's a major time saver.
We may be able to save more time because we do this for other customers and they're using the clone slightly different, because I think you can clone now and it'll give you another step where you can define the sessions of the clones. If they're the same as they were before, but they're just offset. Check back with me, because the British Council does this like hundreds of these every day, and we've added a bunch of things to make their lives easier for that purpose. But yes, Maureen, that is a good way to do that. So you've got, but be able to manage reoccurring sessions is helpful, and you can clone sessions as well. So you click on the clone session button. Clone the whole, okay. So when you clone the session, it shows you, it creates the session as the old one was, but you can fill the information in here. So, but I'll come back to you about that. Or I think sessions now do clone. I think if you clone them, it will clone them now as all TBD. So it'll make the 10 sessions for you, but they're all left as TBD. So you don't have to go re-add them. You just have to set the dates on. That just might save you from having to do the base one that you then make everything out of.
Yeah, I just cloned something and there were no sessions that came with it, even though I selected that.
There might be a behind the scenes setting that you don't know about. I'll double check that.
Okay.
There are a bunch of toggles that we have that we don't show anyone where they are.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Well, some of those toggles are powerful. Next.
You have the sheet up there, right? What
I
the
do.
next item is after branding.
Sharing content.
So I'm assuming there were some really specific questions about sharing content. Not sure who those questions came from. Maureen, do you know?
I don't, maybe Ryan does.
From experience, when it comes to sharing content, usually the question that I'm familiar with is like, let's not reinvent the wheel. If one regional center, I was gonna if one regional center, cracks the code on, hey, this equivalency or this competency meets the standards that we need, how easy is it for us to easily share it out without stepping on anyone's toes, and then utilize it for our own internal regional center? The hiccup that we'll sometimes see, though, is like, depending on who created the original content, sometimes there'll be branding that then automatically gets shared to every other regional center. So, for example, logos.
Branding where?
Inside of the training itself, which is more of an authoring thing. I get
Yeah,
that.
that's
Yeah,
nothing we
depending
can do
on
with that, but yeah.
Right. So I don't think there's anything there for Thinking Cap to inject things that are generic. That would be the original person who creates the content and then shares it.
But everyone here knows that. So you go into for your branch, you simply go into branch under settings, sharing, and then you see everything. Well, first of all, before you get to this, if you go into settings, basics for your branch, you have to turn on sharing, allow this branch to share courses and learning paths with other branches. Only share with immediate sibling branches is an option. Allow this branch to share courses and learning paths from other branches. So if you had a branch, if you only want to share amongst, so in Alta, you've got those 5 branches. If you only want to share with your peers, you could do that. Though in most cases, just put it at the root. And allow this branch to share courses from other branches. So they should always be turned on. Once these are turned on, then in any given course that you've got, you can turn on sharing. So everything that's in if you turn on sharing, does not mean that everything you've got is shared. You still have to go into the course and you have to turn on sharing. You have to share this course.
So
Once you've shared,
a question before you move on. If they share their course, if they want to share into, that's great. But if they want to share out of theirs, I don't recommend that, because that list becomes huge and it shares ILTs that are passed. It shares stuff that's not appropriate for other regional centers. I think
if ILTs are okay, I'm gonna make sure they're
course
passed.
thing. So I would not encourage you to share things out of your center unless we've had a discussion about it, because that's where we run into problems. People say that course isn't working, and then I got to try to find out where the course is, and it sure enough isn't working, and then I have to notify that center to make it inactive. It's a big mess for me and Edwin. So I would say select the share into and not the out of, unless you have a specific course that we've said, oh yeah, we want to share that out. But
Does that mean ours needs to be updated right now? Because we were sharing out all.
Well, it doesn't matter you're sharing out, because you haven't, until you go and actually set something to share, it won't matter. You can say, well, you can turn on we're sharing out, but until you actually go, it will never just share all your stuff. That'll never happen. You've got to explicitly go in and say, I want to share this item, which you can't even do because remember, we're thinking about there was some big administrator who decided that sharing was okay.
Well, some people
But
are
then a smaller A administrator can't choose to share this course unless the big A administrator has already turned that on. So once you share this course, then it would show up in the list. And the list, so how that works right now is you go to settings, sharing, and then it shows you everything that's being shared. Now, in this case, everything that's being shared is being shared by pretty much by shared courses. So there's a few. So Maureen's shares stuff out, but mostly it's all the stuff she put in the shared courses one. But if you were to turn on sharing and then share something out, it would show up in this list. And from this list, you can see everything that you are currently consuming, and you can add things by hand from here. Or if you want, then you could go to automated rules and just turn on a sharing rule. So you could say, I want any course. So let's say you had a taxonomy of course types and one was COVID-19. And you say, I want to share into my branch any course that anyone shares that's marked COVID-19. And then it'll just automatically get added to your area. Now, remember, just because it's added to your area does not mean it's available, because they come, and this is something we've been tinkering with changing, but right now, okay, you decide to share in course A. It's not available to anyone because you haven't set up your enrollment rules. The enrollment rules belong to the branch that's bringing it in. So Maureen might say, I'm auto-enrolling everyone in my branch into this course, and I'm sharing the course in other branches. You might consume that and decide, well, in ours, it's not appropriate. We're going to auto-enroll all managers, or we're going to allow self-enroll, or we're only going to do manual enroll. So things come in allowing only manual roll out of the back. If you want to make them self-enroll or auto-enroll, you've got to add that. We are tinkering with adding some rules that you can say here, I'm making a rule for COVID-19, and when they get brought in, I want them all brought in as allow self-enroll. That way it's all automated, you never have to come back in. Maureen adds the course later today, and she shares it. The second she shares it, boom, it's in yours and self-enroll and up and running. But right now you have to take that extra step.
I got a quick follow-up question then. If hypothetically we shared a course with like SDP, ASL. So it was the SDP orientation, Alta paid to have an ASL translator come in and add their sign language equivalent to it. And we shared it out so that any regional center could find it in their catalog, activate it if they wanted to, set the self-enrollment if they wanted to. That's up to each regional center. If any one of you guys did do that, and then we yank the share rule out, does that take all of their credits out? Will they still be able to see if someone did complete that orientation?
It'll disappear immediately.
Okay.
It won't undo anything. Everyone's student record will still exist. But they yank it, It's theirs.
It'll be just like an inactive course.
If you want to offer it, well, it's not like an inactive course because you won't even see it's there. Yeah. It'll disappear from your feed.
Right.
But if you wanted your very own copy that no one could touch, then you need to clone it from one branch to another. And then but that's fraught with problems too, because then when domain A updates the course to another version, you don't get the new version because you cloned it over. Whereas if you're sharing it, you get those. We've heard that before, but we've never run. No one's ever said, because what you do is you call them up and you yell at them and they turn the share back on and and it appears again. Yeah.
You're not taking that course, are you?
We are changing that course.
Yeah, we might have updates. So.
Well, just update it. That's all you got to do is just upload a new version, and it's fine.
Yeah. We're not going to take it.
Yeah, we're embedding the new requirement that the regional center funds the FMS.
Right, exactly. And by the way, Herman, I just uploaded the Korean one, and I'm uploading the Tagalog and the Spanish one right now as we speak.
Eventually, we'll probably we will leave like a tombstone for it, so you can go under manage and see all the people who are in there. Everything else is gone. But that's extra coding work for us to do for a problem that doesn't exist. So. No, it's a real, if someone takes away the share, how do you go about seeing your 4 learners who completed the course? Well, what you would have to, you could go to their transcript and see it if you wanted to. But other than that, you couldn't, if you wanted to report on it 3 years after it stopped going, you can't do that anymore because it's gone, but it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to get one new customer or lose one customer over never writing that code until someone actually has that problem. So.
Can I ask another question unrelated? Integration with Outlook invitations, is that something that we've ever talked about? Where
It's a professional service, so because we have to tie it in, right? So we have to write the integration between ours and that. It's pretty straightforward, but it just needs to be done. So if you wanted that done, you just have to budget for a few hours to have us build it for you. Because your Outlook, so your mail server, like, are you on like Mail 365 or like Outlooks, or do you have an internal mail server?
Server.
Yeah. Either way, you're gonna. So if you're running your own mail, you're running an Exchange server.
Yeah.
In which case, there are APIs in the Exchange server that we can tie into to get you to give us permission and give us tokens so that we can send messages to Exchange to send out. We can even do other things like check people's calendar availability for ILT enrollments if you want to. So you couldn't enroll someone into a ILT if Exchange comes back and said they're not available that time. But it needs to be set up. Yeah.
Is it different?
Yes.
Is it different for different, whether you're using 365 or you've got your own mail server that you're using a older version, or?
Well, just different things we got to tie into. If you're using SID 365, then it's a cloud service that we're tying into and has very similar APIs. But how we get at it, we can get at it from anywhere in the world. Whereas your Exchange server is internal here, so you would have to open your firewall to us and turn on some services. So yeah, it's not rocket science, but it needs to be done. So there's time on our side, there's time on your side. But once it's done, it's fire and forget, and then life is better forever.
I know North LA wants to. That's a big thing for them, and we would like to. So, it's complicated though if you've got different branches that are using different mail servers.
Just needs to be established at every, just like SSO, you need to establish it at every place that it's a different domain, right? Every branch has its own. Like all the sub branches can share it within a region, but
right.
Yeah, so the second you're enrolled in ILT, it shows up in your calendar without having to do anything. That's ideal.
Ideal. I agree.
Okay, other questions or move on the list? I see CEUs, content, EduCredits as the next item.
So Maureen, did you want to have a separate conversation about crediting?
Or do we cover that already? Don't say badges.
I'll say badges. I think, showing them when they set up the course, where to put the credits in, how to choose the certificate, and the difference between setting the credits at the course level versus the session level. Because let's say you have 3 sessions and they can get credits per session. So they only come to 2, they get the credits that values for those 2 sessions and not the third one. Or they have to complete all 3 because they're all required. That's what I'm thinking people want to know about, to make sure they're setting that up correctly. But you guys say something if I'm wrong here, because I'm just guessing by my conversations with folks. So no comment.
So these are the, right now you've got 2 credit categories set up in this learning center. And so I can then click edit, create the credit value, available from, available through. You can leave these blank depending on so some credit providers, you've applied for the credit and they've told you that people can earn 3 credits and it's being offered from March 1st to March 3rd. If they come into the LMS and they earn on March 4th, they don't get the credit, and that's the way it needs to work.
They're basically putting an end of life on the validity of the content.
And also whether you can award credits retroactively. What this does, if you turn that on, let's say you didn't have the credential, we only give you out this credit if you have a physician number in the system. You don't have it, you do a bunch of courses, you get no credits, but then one day you come in, you put your physician number in, the LMS will try to go in and grant you all the credits you should have earned. And those are done based on the available from and through and whether retroactively has been turned on. So if you fall within the date range, so our pharmacist customer, everything is in a very strict date range. And so you might put your credentials in today, and then a whole bunch of stuff you still won't get credit for because it falls outside the range you could have gotten it for. And that's what this is for. So retroactively for things in the last how many days. So it'll go look back, only say, we know that they won't allow you to grant anything in 30 days. So I say 30 days, and I've set this to say the granting available from was from January 10th to January 12th. And I come into the LMS and I upload a roster that says I was in the course on this date, but I do this next month. I don't get any credits because I said 30 days. I do this month, I still can. These are the edge cases, but still. So everything flows from you first define your credit opportunities. So under certification, credits, then credit providers. And if you add a credit provider, it's just a name and description. And then for every provider, you have categories. And for each category, a title, a description, is it active or not? And once you've created those, then you can define what goes in the credit statement if you want to have a credit statement. So landscape, digital signature or not, and then name the certificate file. So then HTML, so you can define the look and feel of it.
So honestly, the credit statements follows the same as the certificates. It's still an HTML file. You can have logo images and things like that. Usually on a credit statement, you see a lot more logos.
But it's not talking about.
But it's talking specifically about this is the information that this credit provider needs to have on this document in order for them to approve that this is a completed item.
And just a word about credits over here. You can set credit limits. So if you want to set the maximum number of credits someone can earn in a certain period of time, you can set that up. You can define reviewer credits, facilitator credits, and speaker credits. So some people give out, if you present on a topic, you get a percentage of, so as a learner, I get 3 credits for taking a course, but some organizations will actually give out credits to the person who's presenting. And so you can give those out as well. So once you define that, then as we said, in the course itself, you can define the actual credits you get right here. So that's certificates and your credits you get here. Why is that here anyway? Is the credit statement? Shouldn't that be, or is this what if you want to override and have a unique? If you want to override the credit statement on a course by course basis, you can by adding. If you add a new one here, we'll give you this one rather than the one that was defined higher up. And that's really all there's to say about the credits. There's a lot of complicated stuff about credits in the back end that you don't see, but that are possible for.
Yeah, if you start getting into, that's where it starts looking at how the credits are awarded, whether it's manual or automated, and a whole bunch of like, what are the key pieces of data that we need? So you go through the custom metadata field for the activities and you see where's the activity number being stored, or where do I find this information for the user, that the only users with this custom field. So only a user who is a pharmacist can get a pharmacy credit. Only a user who's a pharmacy technician can get a pharmacy technician credit, things like that. And where do I find their number, like their unique user number that is with that credit provider?
Isabel, can you just show where they would go in to assign credits in the session versus in the course? And why we would want to do that, because like I was saying before, sometimes we'll set up a course that has 3 sessions. And we say if they come to 2 of the 3 sessions, they can get credit for the 2 they came to, but not the 3rd one they didn't come to. Or we may say they have to come to 2 out of the 3 in order to get the CEUs, or they have to come to all 3 of them. So and this is for those who have provider. Well, everybody has a provider domain and they're all getting credits through them, through the single point of entry. But this is if you're setting up your own provider trainings online.
Then we're gonna get you in to show you an example.
I'll show you an example of some very complicated credit things you can see, and then I'll go and show the sessions credit. Okay, so here are the credits being offered. So it's offering ICPA credits for pharmacist and pharmacy technician. Here's the value available from, available through, credit activity name, credit UAN. Because remember, for credits, in addition, so credit activity name, credit, you can create custom fields, metadata fields for credits as well, and see what's required. So another example of credits. And when we're integrated, like so ASCP credits, we can grab some of the information automatically because it's integrated. Where's the big, like, do you know what, like, the matrices of, it shows the matrix of credits or the dates of the 2, or it's, never mind.
Oh, when you add another one, it shows you the matrix.
Oh, when you try to add a new
You
one.
had to
Okay.
add.
You have to add the first one.
Before, where it just used to list
My
them all
mistake.
to add.
Okay,
because
so
they
let me go
were
back to
on
here
the-
and show what Maureen was asking for. This is an instructor-led course. I go settings and I go to sessions. I want in the future. Maureen, what's the best place to go to find a ILT session that might be in the future? In yours.
In mine?
Yeah.
Go to the provider one, because we're giving credit there. There you go. This one, we're only awarding credits at the course level.
So here you can go it. So here you can define the. So these are credits for session. Okay. So if you had gone into certification and credits, here's where you define the credits you would get for overall completion. But if you want to go into sessions, edit, credit and certification, you can give out a certificate, or you can give out credits, and these are credits for the individual session.
For the session only, yes.
You can give out a certificate. Like, you survived day 1, you survived day 2, you survived day 3. Could be 3 different certificates you give out, as well as giving out credits that you get for having. And these will be issued as soon as you get attended for that day. So you can have a course that you don't complete even, that you get credit for because you came to a few days. So you might give someone 12 credits upon completion, but you might also give them an additional 1 credit per day for having come, and then 12 for finishing the whole thing. So there's a possible 20 credits they could have earned for 8 days, 8 sessions, but they're only going to get the 3 credits because they came for 3 days.
I'm getting a ticket right now from somebody who's actually at the meeting. I don't know if we want to solve that problem.
Shauna wants wine too.
Shauna wants some wine too. So, Shauna, can I just share your ticket? Where are you? I can't hear anybody, so I don't know if she's talking or not.
Now, I'm here. No, we
Oh.
can do that later. It's I'm okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay. So,
Little trick I'll teach you about ILTs while I'm here. You see the setting? Don't prevent course ends of the last session. Don't prevent. Yes, until a fixed date. Okay, yeah, so it's if you plan to create, so you create an ILT, you got one session in it, and you have your session, and someone attends that session, or let's say you had two sessions. Okay, you had a session today and a session next week. One session, I'm in the course, someone completes, you can't then add additional sessions because you enroll Isabel, you add one session, the session comes, Isabel is marked as a attender of that session, and then you complete it overall in the course, and then you can't add any more sessions to it because Isabel's already completed. But if you want us to hold the door open, use this setting here, and that will not complete Isabel. It'll mark her as complete for that one session. The overall complete will never be marked because we know you're intending to add more sessions. And then you can say, I don't want you to actually call it complete until, let's say, the end of this month. Because we know that we're going to start this thing. The first session is going to be on January 1st, and we know we're going to have more sessions. We don't know how many, we don't know when they're going to be, but we want to leave the door open and not complete anybody until we get to the end of the month, at which point, whatever number of sessions we've added will be enough. So when the end of the month comes, if she's done what she needs to do, she'll be marked as complete. But it just lets you have more flexibility.
Is it pretty generic terminology to refer to sessions as components of courses and courses housing
Hate the word
sessions?
courses. We use the word activities because
Okay.
everything's activity.
We have a lot of people who call their learning paths courses.
Oh,
We have people call.
Yeah.
We hear that's why we have the nomenclature. You can rename everything in our system with the nomenclature. Module, we get course, we get
Units.
session, units, we get everything.
Tutorials.
There is no, so that's why we stay generic, and everything is an activity of some, and we have multiple activity types, but they're all e-learning activities. Do you use it? How do you do attendance in your ILTs, or you do it all for, like, if you're enrolled, you get credit for being there, even if because you were enrolled?
only if you attend do you get credit.
And how
Right,
do
but you can
track
set it so that if you're enrolled and the date comes and goes, we assume you were there, we give you credit. You don't, that's like no attendance taken is that option.
We
Attendance
go-
taken by moderator TA is you got to do the attendant, go in the system and say everyone's there. Attendance taken by learner is great because then you can set up like a page like this where they walk in the room and they mark their attendance in the room.
Or they get it when they join the Zoom, but I don't know of anybody that's using no attendance taken.
Okay. Most of our customers do that, actually. They use no attendance because they don't want to be bothered.
We
If
do
you've
have-
enrolled, we assume you went there and it's not such high stakes that they're going to count that everyone's in the class.
We do have a lot more now where people are using attendance by code. So if you're doing a session, either a face-to-face session or a webinar session, you're given you give the presenter a code and they show it or mention it to their learners at the end of the session. So the learner has to have attended the entire session or where the presenter thinks the minimum attendance should be for their session. They say that code and then the learner logs into the LMS and enters their code. And yes, there is a homepage tile for that. It's a code tile. It's like on the bottom of the list, you add that and they just plug in that code and it goes, this code is for this activity. Is that right? And they say yes. And then it says, you've been marked attended in this activity. It's also if you see the attendance button on a course, that's why you click on that attendance button and you enter the code and then it processes it.
Edwin, you're using this, I think, too, right? Yeah. Not sure he's still there.
Other questions about this? ILTs, attendance codes.
Next on the list.
Next on the list would be security.
Security. Who want to talk about security? Any questions? No, everyone wants security.
This is Keith from Far Northern. I had a question about syncing and does the Active Directory syncing work? Trying to figure out a better way to do it than managing our users. We did get the SAML set up, which may have been part of this question originally.
Yep.
So, but that's actually working for us now, so that's looking great.
Are you using provisioning with your SAML?
I don't think so. Is that an option in here?
Yes.
Let me look. Oh, well, that answers the whole question right there.
If you want to bring in the information to create the user accounts when they first log in, just turn on provisioning.
Okay, I'll take a look at that and see. Okay, great. Sorry. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, but that shouldn't, I know that you mentioned syncing, and I don't think that should preclude syncing. If depends on your needs. So if you need to enroll people before they've logged in, then I would look at doing the syncing as well. But if you don't need to enroll them before they've logged in, then provisioning should meet your needs.
Okay. I'll take a look. In provisioning, oh, I know why provisioning wasn't on. We don't put names in there. We put employee IDs instead. But that's an internal thing. I'll look at that. But provisioning may answer the whole question then. Okay, that was my only question, really.
Also, if you are provisioning, you might want to look at, you can prompt users to fill in additional information after they log in for the first time. Or anytime you create a field, if it's a new field that's required, you can prompt her at that point too. In which case the learner will fill in the missing information about them. They're prompted to do that when they log in the next time. So say you, yeah, so if you're looking to have them fill in gaps of information as well, you can do that too.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, the SAML works great. So that's been really nice because it gives us two-factor as well as not having to remember a separate password. So loving that. Perfect. Well, thank you.
No, MFA is, everyone hates to set it up because then they're stuck having to use MFA, but they're always told they have to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much everything these days.
It means that phone has to sit next to you or that, yeah. Oh, you have to step.
In terms of security, just know that very, very, very security conscious people are always on our back. And we are ahead of the curve. We're constantly doing penetration tests, constantly being scrutinized. So we're 10 years ahead of whatever you're going to need from us, whatever.
So we're now on to the other. There were a few suggestions. I don't know if the people who made these suggestions are here. The first one was LMS versus Freshdesk. I think there have been some things that were implemented in two different places or.
Yeah, no. Towards the very end of our survey, these security and other, I think like 1 to 2% of the total group were interested. So like I said, it might be some direct questions honestly, we're coming up to like the last 40 minutes of the time that we have with you. So if we don't have any direct questions based on these other topics, would you guys be okay to just an open Q&A? Like,
Oh, please, yeah.
any
that's great.
questions at all? Okay. 'Cause,
Test.
Stump the chump.
Yeah, the Fresh Desk and the LMS are two different things. One's a help desk and one's the LMS. So I don't know, maybe they were asking whether they should be sending you the support tickets or us at Fresh Desk. So
You could also look at doing the same sort of integration with Fresh Desk maybe that we have for
Zendesk,
Zendesk, yeah.
if you could, that'd be awesome. Although we kind of got it covered, but
I really like actually the Zendesk one, and I keep putting on the roadmap, and it just no client ever says yes, so it never it never gets done. The ability to do something like the Zendesk integration, where you have a help button that appears on the learner view, and you can pick FAQs, really just questions that you think people might ask, and you can tie them to the login page or other pages. Based on the page, they click on the button, they can type search depending on how many you have. You can either see the list, or if it goes beyond a certain number, you just start typing the question, it presents the answer, and then only if you don't get the answer, then it prompts you to submit a ticket, which is a good way to give some help right up front. But it's also
Fresh Desk has that feature as well.
Yeah.
It's called the knowledge. Nobody uses it, so we don't have much there, but
Can I just remind anybody flying out tomorrow on Southwest, your 24-hour boarding pass check-in might be beneficial. You don't want to get that middle seat.
middle seat's the best seat. So maybe Maureen, if you want to send me like some options around Zendesk, I would recommend doing something like that, because the feedback that I've got from people is it reduces greatly the number of tickets requests that they get in from people, and greatly by having something like that set up. And if it's something that may be overarching that all of you guys could share in a list of FAQs, it could be something that we could implement perhaps in a different way. Because I'm sure there are a lot of similar questions, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
This is my technically third element. I know we did one version.
Mhm. Yeah, but I would say from when your learners come in, right? And sometimes you'll get questions like we have one of our clients, whenever they have a new admin come into the role, and their job, it's usually the people whose job it is to answer all the emails that they get from their learners. We do a session with our mentor where they help them go through the emails that come in and figure out the pattern of what the questions are that are getting answered. If you get up a lot, and sometimes you how to answer them. We figure out what the answer is. We write up those answers and we put them on the learner view. We could put them up in a more interactive way than just these are our FAQs. We could put them up in a way that looks like more contextual help, because the help that's there is much more useful than the help that you have to go and ask about and then come back to find the answer on. So yeah, and then it reminds the admins the answer to that question is that thing, which is also useful. So yeah, I from a UX perspective, I really do like that. It helps your learners and it helps your admins. No problem. So maybe we should open this up. Anybody have any questions about the LMS at all?
They move it. I don't see the integration for.
Oh, and I think they switched. Try Primary Plus maybe. Secondary plus.
I do.
What's your question?
My question is why, when you're clicking on the self-enrollment options, why do you have to select allow self-enrollment and allow all branch members to self-enroll?
Got to turn on. I agree that that is a little, the page, I've run that too, but the simple fact is that,
Can I answer that?
go ahead.
Because we had a thinking camp and the admin said, I accidentally turned on and they needed it to be split into 2 steps because they were paranoid, and there was consensus amongst everyone, all of the admins that came, that for self-enrollment and auto-enrollment, that they needed to know that it was everyone who is going to be able to get in. So first you activate self-enrollment and then you pick everyone, or you pick a rule, as opposed to turning it on for everyone and then saying, no, it's a rule. So we split it up. So first you're saying either for self-enrollment or
Like maybe
auto-enrollment.
label it, activate self-enroll, and then tell them to select from these other options. Because I just got an email from my assistant who's been using the system for I don't know how long. And she says, I can't understand. We can see the course, but nobody can enroll in it. And then I went in and she had not selected the second button. And I don't know what she's been doing, but
I don't disagree. And I'm just making a note on the data that should say activate self-enroll, not allow, because we're allowing branch members to enroll, or we're making rules. Yeah, we need to make a UI change this so that it's a little more, but the reason is because you might have auto enrollment, you might be auto enrolling all managers and allowing self-enroll for, which is also in competition with the whole, is the course active or inactive, right? So being active is different because you might be active, but only allowing the auto enrollments to happen, or active, but only allowing the manual enrollments to happen. So you have to activate the self-enrollment as well.
Yeah. So did you want to show the Zendesk thing?
So, if we added a manual enrollment setting, then you get rid of the whole active. Because if you don't allow manual enroll, you don't allow self-enroll, you don't allow auto enroll, then it's not active anyway. So, but then it's hard to hide the UI.
Activating the activity at all is manual enrollment.
The second, before it's activated, it can't be manual. So we used to have, you could turn on manual enrollment. We were like, why bother you? It's always on. If the course is active, then but.
Well, I'm sure we can.
It's not a mistake you make twice. So. And I had a similar, I taught a ticket last week from, I think Alice like that, like, why is this course not showing in my, like, because it's not active.
Sorry, did you want to pull up that Zendesk?
I couldn't find it. So.
Oh.
Okay,
Can I take over this one or leave it?
We'll go back to the VC one. Go to the domain you want to go to. And then impersonate someone in that domain.
You don't have to even. It's in there. Oh, it's because you're zoomed. That's why. Because this thing is covering it.
I'm not seeing. Oh.
This is there.
Okay. So see that help button that's on every page of the British Council? That's the integration into Zendesk. So the same thing with Freshdesk. So every single page of the page.
And what I'm saying is there's no reason why we can't let you select these questions at each branch. So the ones that are for ARCA-wide go up at the very top, so you guys don't have to keep rewriting your answers. And then as they get more specific to each branch, you put them here, they show up here. Click on the question, my child can't log in. And you give them
Which makes it so easy to report a problem, yeah.
Okay, they don't all have to be report a problem. Some of them, ideally, before you report the problem, before it has that thing saying report the problem, has instructions on.
Yeah.
Are you doing this? Is it this? Give you tips before.
What's Maureen's home phone number? Yeah.
Oh, don't let them get a hold of that. I made that mistake. I have a provider that's calling me all the time.
Because it sends that to Zendesk as well, the URL for the page that it was activated on, and yeah. And when our help is put in, when ours, there'll be another, you can use theirs, but when ours goes in the same way, it's again going to collect up all that information and send it back to us, so you don't have to like. This is the course name. Here's the thing. It's all be there for us. Yeah.
Well, if
Yeah.
you go on
You want.
ours, if you go on ours, it's statewide. It's got a place where you could upload a file. You could upload a picture. You could show a screenshot. There's a lot of other, things on there, and it emails the agents, which is me and Edwin. So you might look at Freshdesk. Just saying.
Well, it needs to feed back into our system, so that's why we would use our own 20-year in the making system for managing tickets.
But our system is fully integrated with our testing system, which is fully integrated
With our
the
help
LMS
system, which is tied
fully
in there.
integrated with LMS, so function numbers throughout the whole thing. And yeah.
So do we have other questions, folks?
Not seen
Spinning around.
I think we're all smarter off, better off, more informed with the LMS. So that's a good thing. It's a good thing. Some of us might need time to digest all of that internally too. A lot of good stuff.